Hello. Okay, so it's been a while since I posted anything on my YouTube, and I don't really think I was going to, but something got into me today, and we're going to be doing stuff with this E30. So this is my 87 E30, and this video is just going to be retrofitting a larger tachometer to my existing cluster. The goal with this project is I'm going to S50 swap it. So I'll have videos on that in the next, the next couple of days or so. We're going to be pulling this motor and S50 swapping it. And yeah, let's get started. All right, so what we have right here is my stock cluster. This is from the 325E. The problem with this is it only revs to 5,000 RPM, and an S50 revs to about 7,200 with a chip. So that needs to be fixed. So to fix that, we're going to throw in this little tachometer. This came out of a late model 325i, and this one, as you can see, it revs to 7, which should be good enough. You can get an M3 tachometer and that revs to 8, but I'm not going to mess with all that because you need to do some soldering, and I just want to go the simple route, at least for this. I'm pretty bad at soldering. So this is our kind of donor cluster here. This I took out of a parts car, and as you can see, all I had to do was just remove the back housing and take the bolts out for the tachometer, and it slides right out. So let's get into pulling your cluster, because I know you guys are going to probably mess up trim panels if you don't do this the correct way. And we want to keep everything nice, especially if you have an uncracked dash. So let's get into it. Okay, this is the empty hole in the dash and what it'll look like when you've pulled your cluster. So to start with, you have this guy right here. You have these 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3. You're going to want to pull those, just twist them to the side. You don't have to actually unscrew them, you just twist, and the whole thing will drop down. Then this has 2 of these little thumb screws, and these are going to be behind in there. You can see that. And you just got to untwist these, and that panel will pop off. And then it's 6 Phillips head screws to get this off, and then 2 more for the cluster. And then you've got to remove these little clips just by prying up on this black part with a screwdriver, and this will pop right off. Good luck. Let's get into retrofitting the gauge cluster. First, you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, and you're just basically going to take out all of these larger screws. You'll see they're all around the edge of the cluster. All right, so we've got our housing removed, and now you can see the gauges. This would be a great time to do your odometer gears, but I'm not. I just personally prefer not to because they tend to click with the harder aftermarket gears. So I'm just going to leave mine in place. But let's get to removing this tachometer. Okay, now that those are removed, this should just basically slide right off. And you want to be really careful when you're pulling that out. It's got these little pins in there. And now it's off. So you've got your old tachometer off, and you just put your new tachometer in the same way that the old one came off. Keep in mind when you're doing this, you really want to be careful with these needles, because if you bend one of these, it's going to be really difficult to get another gauge and put it in and find one in good working condition. Just be really careful with the needles and gauges, especially the faces too, when you're doing this. All right, now that your dash is in a million pieces from taking this cluster out, we're going to put it back together. Only partially at first. We just want to test it, and then once we know that that tachometer is working, we will start the car and test everything and make sure it's good and put it all back together. So let's get to it. Cluster is going to be slightly different if it's a motometer or if you have a VDO cluster. You're going to have some different plugs, but just basically see this little black clip here. You push the plug in and then you press that black clip down. Same way it comes out. All right, big moment of truth here. The cluster's not fully in. I don't want to do that before, just to make sure it works. But let's turn the ignition on. Just go and start up your car normally. There we go. We have a working cluster, guys. And as you can tell, my car idles horribly. Part of the reason for wanting to take out this M20. But yeah, let's shut it off now. All right, this is pretty much what it looks like all back together. I think it's an extremely good improvement. Like, that is just, I don't know, man. Something about having the tachometer reach 7 instead of 5, it just feels more like a BMW to me. I'm not sure why. BMWs are always more, high revving, exciting cars, and I feel like the 325e, sorry, no diss to 325e owners, because I actually love how reliable this engine is, but just the fact that it doesn't rev kind of is, a little bit off-putting, and that's, I think, why people swap them out so often. But it's awesome. I love the upgrade. I'm excited to put in the motor that actually fits that tachometer. But that's gonna be the end of this video. Run it up, like, subscribe. I had a lot of fun making this, so there'll be more parts to this little S50 swap series. I think it's gonna be super fun, and I kind of get to look back at them too. I think it'll be fun to look back at that kind of stuff. But yeah, man, peace. Hit that like button.